Hi, thank you for joining me today. In this video, what we're going to do is continue our exploration of sentences, not so much correcting in this video. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to break down the sentence into its parts of speech and various components, such as a subject and a predicate, just to get a feel for where we're at in terms of our knowledge base regarding these areas. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our first example sentence, which is going to be Karen, from my favorite meme, Karen is wearing a black hat, period. Okay, what I'm gonna have you do first is help me identify the subject. Go ahead and pause the video, underline what you believe is the subject, and resume, and we'll go through that together. All right, now hopefully you were able to identify that. In this case, we have the subject as being Karen. Karen is who or what we're referring to, or the sentence in itself is talking about. So we have the subject, which I'm then going to label as such. Terrible handwriting. Next, we're going to look for the second part to complete the sentence, because as you know, with any complete sentence, you must have a subject and a predicate, which is the action portion of the sentence that refers back in some way to the subject. Go ahead and underline the complete predicate and resume when you're ready. All right, now the complete predicate here is wearing a black hat. Karen being our subject, the predicate being is wearing, a black hat. Now we're going to break down this sentence even further. What I'm going to have you do is please isolate or find the verbs or the action words in the sentence. There may be more than one. Go ahead and resume as soon as you feel as though you found both, or one. Kind of a giveaway. All right, now in this sentence, we do actually have two verbs, one of which is called a to-be verb. We have is, which is our to-be verb, and we also have wearing. So she is, Karen in this case, is wearing. That's what she's doing. Now what I'd like you to do is please identify the noun or the person, place, or thing in the sentence. And there may be more than one. Once you've found them, please resume and we'll go through it together. All right, now for this, the noun at least, I'm able to see just by looking at it that we have a color and we have a hat and we also have Karen. Karen in this case would be considered a proper noun, but we'll just label it as a noun because it is a person. We have a hat, which is a thing. Now black, on the other hand, while it is a thing, it is not being used as a noun in the sentence. Instead, what do you suppose it is? Hopefully you were able to say that it is acting as an adjective. And if I were to point, and by the way, an adjective being a word describing or talking about or modifying a noun in some way, and in this case, this adjective, which is black, is referring to or describing the noun hat. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and try something similar, or continue this exercise in a second sentence. All right, so for number 2, we have, the dog. I'll use the example of the dog in the park across the street. So the dog barked loudly. Now in this sentence, we're just going to start off really simple. What I'd like you to do is please help me identify both the subject and the complete predicate. Pause the video, resume as soon as you found both. All right, hopefully you were able to identify the subject of the sentence as being the dog. You want to include the definite article the with dog as opposed to just underlining dog, because we're referring to a specific dog, the dog, being the subject. Okie doke. And then of course the complete predicate would be, at this point, anything other than the subject, which is barked loudly. It's referring to what the subject did. All right, that will be our predicate, or would be our predicate, Now I'll have you find two things: the verb or verbs, and also identify a word that is modifying or saying more about the verb you find. And this is going to be known as the adverb. So essentially I'm going to have you go ahead and pause, find the adverb, find the verb and the adverb. All right, I'm assuming you've resumed. So, well, of course, because you're seeing this, here we have loudly Well, loudly is not something I can do, although it does refer to something I could, or rather it refers to the manner in which I could do something, right? I can speak, that's an action. And how can I speak? I can speak loudly. So I will say that loudly in itself is not a verb, but when I look, I can see that the dog barked. Well, what did the dog do? Oh, he barked. That would be an action. That's the verb. Well, how did he bark? What is saying more about that verb? In this case, it would be the word loudly, which makes it an adverb as opposed to an adjective, which would refer to a noun. In this case, it's referring to a verb, making it, again, an adverb. All right, let's go ahead and jump into a third sentence. All right, now for this third sentence, let's go ahead and try the yellow crayon rolled quickly. Again, forgive my handwriting. All right, now for this sentence, as with the others, we're going to go ahead and find the subject and find the complete predicate. From there, we're going to move forward with a few more activities. Resume when you're ready. All right, hopefully you were able to see that we're referring to the yellow crayon, right? The yellow crayon is our subject. We're going to include the definite article the, followed by yellow crayon, because it explains the entirety of the subject, or rather it references the entirety of the subject, which leaves the other portion, or the part of the sentence which hasn't been underlined yet, as the predicate. So what did it do? Oh, it rolled quickly. So this would be our predicate. And I forgot to label the subject. Let me go back and do that now. All right, there's our subject. Now, what I'm going to have you do, like before, is please help me find the verb, adjective, because there is an adjective which refers or modifies a noun, which is a person, place, or thing. And also, please help me find an adverb, if you happen to discover one, that tells me more about a verb. Resume when you're ready. All right, now hopefully you were able to say that, well, embedded within the subject, embedded within the subject is an adjective, and that adjective is the color yellow. In fact, colors and numbers, so the number of something, like a quantity of something, and obviously the color, whatever, those are generally considered adjectives in a sentence, unless used otherwise. But in this case, we're talking about a yellow crayon. So this is going to be our adjective, because it tells us more about the noun, crayon. So I'll also draw an arrow showing which noun this adjective is referring to. Well, what did it do? That'll be our verb. The verb in this case is going to be rolled. Okay, in what way did it roll? Or how did it roll? What's telling me more about its rolling, or the action? In this case, it would be, I'll use red again, quickly. That's going to be our adverb. It's telling me more about how the action occurred. And let's go ahead and jump into our fourth sentence, which is, if I can get my pen to work, there we go. He wrote very sloppily. Oops. How about this one? He wrote very neatly. Period. All right. Again, help me find the subject and help me identify the predicate. Resume when you're ready. All right. The subject is he, just he. Now, a lot of you may think, well, he wrote is really what it's about. Yes, that's true. But we're referring to he as the main subject. This is what the actions are in reference to, which means the rest of the sentence, which is going to be wrote very neatly, is going to be considered the complete predicate. Let me also go ahead and label he as being the subject. Okay, we've got our subject, which is he. Well, what did he do? He wrote very neatly. Now, within the sentence, I still want you to help me find any verbs, adjectives, if they happen to be there, or adverbs if they happen to be there. Go ahead and do so now and resume when you're ready. All right, now that you've resumed, let's go ahead and take a look. He wrote. Well, what did he do? He wrote. Wrote is the action. This is going to be our verb. Okay, well, very neatly. This describes the manner in which he wrote. When I look at that, I can see that it is probably not going to be an adjective, considering the fact that that neither very or neatly is referencing a noun or referring to a noun. Instead, both of these are acting as what's called an adverbial phrase. Anytime you have more than one word, whether it's an adjective or an adverb, whatever, it's going to be considered an adjective phrase or an adverbial phrase in this case, because very, neatly, very refers to the extent of something, and neatly refers to the manner of something. Yet both are still describing the way in which this person wrote, which makes them adverbs. But I'll write adverbial. Let me just erase all of that. All right, that's going to be an adverbial, gosh, look at that handwriting, phrase. Okie doke. Let me go ahead and stop my recording. Hopefully it's saved. Yes, it did save. Right. Anyway, thank you again. If you would be so kind as to like the video and also subscribe to the channel, again, just to help it gain some traction within the YouTube algorithm, to broaden the audience, which will hopefully get me in touch with other educators to help me produce content that's made free for students domestically and worldwide, to essentially just kind of help bolster language learning. All right, thank you again. I appreciate it. All right, see you in the next one.